everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us once again at Dojo Live, connecting with tech experts like you. My name is Kim Lantis, broadcasting from my home in Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. Joining me today are two of my teammates, Carlos Ponce and Tulio Siragusa.
Hi,
Hi,
Kim.
guys.
Hi,
I had
Kim.
Hi,
And
I had to
hello.
apologize. Stranger things have happened, but I am broadcasting from home. I have my baby with me, so disclaimer, guys, if anything odd goes on today.
Do
so
yourself. It's kid friendly, Kim. No worries.
So today we're going to be talking about getting the right content to the right people when and where and how they need it. Something that's particularly important in today's global market. And here to tell us all about this is today's guest, author and recipient of the 2017 Women Worth Watching STEM Awards, Anna Schlegel. Hi, Anna.
Hello.
Anna is the head of globalization and information engineering at NetApp. So we're very excited to have you today here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Anna, would you please mind sharing us a bit more about your background and what it is that you do with your team at NetApp?
Sure. So my name is Anna Schlegel, and I am the head of globalization for the company and also for a couple other teams. One other one that you mentioned is information engineering. So we sit in product ops and or R&D, as many companies call it. And we map and engineer the information for all of our products. And then from the globalization perspective, we manage the globalization strategy for the company. And I'm also the chair of Women in Technology for NetApp. So that's also a lot of fun.
Very, very good. So congratulations on your award. So let's talk a bit about that, please, women and technology. I myself am not a developer or anything of the sort with Nearsoft. I work on the communication side of our company, which I guess we'll probably get to when we talk about this idea of globalization. But why don't you go ahead and tell us about the importance of women in STEM?
Sure. So, and I'm going to speak from the Silicon Valley and high tech. That's where I got to learn more about the situation about women in the Silicon Valley and high tech. I can't speak of women in South America or in Europe or in Asia Pacific. I'm not the expert on that. What we see here in the Silicon Valley is a lack of women in high tech. And you were just mentioning, you're a comms expert yourself. So our companies have women. We have women in HR departments. We have women in the legal department. We have a fair amount of women in marketing. But when you look at other departments, let's say IT or product operations, it's rough. Systems engineering teams, the numbers are pretty low. And so the numbers today that we see, depending on the company where you are, and it depends on the degree of engineering, it can go as low as 17% of women to 23%. And so those are very low numbers, and we are consistently working to see how do we attract women and how do we make sure that they stay and how do we make sure that they come back after they have their kids and they want to re-entry, maybe after the kids are in elementary school or something like that, when you feel better about leaving them at some sort of institution where the teachers are going to do a good job, just as you did as they were little. So that's something that it's very important, because there's no significant diversity. And we're not even looking at ethnicity or different types of cultures. When you look at, Latin women in high tech, the numbers are the lowest, as an example, right? So we're not even looking at that at this point. We just want women in here, and we have seen today, I think, a new law in California where every single for-profit board has to have a woman in it. That's a major, major achievement. And I want to congratulate to the team that created that. Women are not represented at boards. Women are in the very low numbers as you go higher and higher in the organizations. And so women bring in new perspectives, bring in different skills, that we've learned being moms, and that we've learned, having brothers, and that we've learned that are very complementary and very worthy of leadership.
Yes, you touched on that a bit. I was going to ask you a bit about the benefits of what do studies show, or in your own experience, how are companies better off having a more equal playing field, so to speak, when it comes to sex of men and women?
I don't want to generalize, but women may be thinking more for the customer, or maybe complementing the view of what the end customer may mean. And engineering used to be this really obscure, science where few systems engineers are in back, door rooms, fixing cables and boxes and storage systems and data systems, when today we're really moving on to cloud-based, service-based models where anybody is super easy to deploy. So we are going to see more and more women getting in. There's a lot of women analysts, a lot of women studying artificial intelligence, going into data science roles. And things are becoming easier and easier. So I think we will see more women getting in. But there's a movement right now where companies that are investing in other companies, they want to see women, they want to see diversity. So there's a lot of organizations at Stanford or NCWIT or Anita Borg Institute that are really advocating for the diversity at the boardroom, at the C-level, because companies want to work with companies that are respecting of cultural diversity.
Thank you. So let's talk a bit about this idea of cultural diversity, as you mentioned. I know we're transitioning a bit from the idea of gender onto, I think, globalization in general, right? So your chosen topic today is information engineering and globalization strategy. It's what you do. So how are you at NetApp, or in general, combining enterprise content strategy to go global? And why is that important?
Sure. So typically, what people do when they're in a globalization team, many teams are called the localization team. We look at all the offerings of a company. And I'm going to make it simple. Let's pretend that I work at Apple. Okay. So the iPhone, the iWatch, and any Apple product, computers, if you are from Russia, the interfaces, the operating systems, the instructions, the support, the pricing, the professional services need to be in Russian, need to be tailored for the Russian market, need to know, the price points in Russia, need to know of how Russian folks like to get information, what's the social media there, how do they consume content. And so that's what we do. NetApp is in 150 countries. And we don't sell the same in China, and we don't go to market the same in Italy than you would go to Korea, right? And so all these products need to be tested, need to not be encrypted, need to be secure, need to be in the language of the customer, need to be made available in the right price point, need to be supported, right? If you place a product in the middle of Sweden and there's no phone call, no phone number to call. So all of these 20 million details is what my team looks at. We make sure that everything is ready, set up in the language of the local customer, so that we show up as a local customer, right? We are an American enterprise selling globally, doing really, really well. And the more you look like a local vendor, the better. Because if I'm in, San Francisco and somebody sends me a product with the Chinese instructions, I will throw it into the trash can, right? And so I need to make sure that what I'm being offered, it's really easy, quick to understand, so that I can compare it to other local products.
Right. So excuse my interruption. This is the service that you and your team do within NetApp, or this is the service that NetApp offers?
No. So this is what we do for NetApp. NetApp
That's
is
what I thought.
a $7 billion
Right.
enterprise company that offers data storage services. And we build the storage solutions for companies like the example I was giving you before.
So
And
how many countries do you work with? If you
we serve 150 countries.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a question, Anna. That's a huge endeavor. So when you talk about localization on 150 countries, I get the language. Is it also tone or the code? When you do a release, for example, right? Is it that it's at 150 versions of that release? How is that managed? Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So NetApp has dozens of products. Not all of them are being sold everywhere. So some, you need to imagine there's some products that are very mature. So NetApp has been around for 25 years. So some of our larger, more established products have been around for a while. So the code is ready. The manuals are ready. The language is ready. The support is ready. The dashboards, the artificial intelligence add-ons, everything is ready. We are consistently acquiring other companies and developing new products, especially products that go for the cloud and offer cloud data services. Those products are not all ready. And so what we do is we always have products that are very mature, and then we have products that we ramp up. And we don't localize into 150 languages. We localize into a set of languages that go into 150 countries. So, for example, Spanish goes into a gazillion of countries, right? German goes into 3 or 4. So that's how we function. And we do not localize for every country around the world. We don't have the money, and we don't even have enough significant presence there. And the return wouldn't be there either for us. And therefore, English becomes, very overutilized in countries like Vietnam or Indonesia, or where it's not a focus for us. I mean, what we do, or any company similar like ours, we look at where is the business to be had. And again, these are systems that are very expensive, and we hit enterprise countries like Germany, the UK, Australia, as number one countries, because that's where the potential revenue is, right?
Right. Well, you sound like a very accomplished executive. I'm just going to refer to you as an executive, and especially as a woman in tech. I'm always curious to discover how you got here. How did you choose this path? I mean, maybe some of our audience listening would like to learn as well.
So I grew up in Catalonia, and my degree is linguistics. And I have a couple postgrads in linguistics, and I honestly didn't know what I was going to do. I thought maybe I would be a high school teacher. And very soon I had a startup when I was 23 to offer translations. I thought, okay, I'm really good in languages. I grew up speaking a few languages. And so I started doing translations. And one of my first customers was Silicon Graphics 27 years ago. And I quickly realized that what they needed were not translations. They needed to understand from one country to the other. They were fighting. They were like, oh, this product is not ready, or you're putting a press release, but the product is not ready, or it was very chaotic. And so I started understanding how they were doing this. They just kept sending us documents to translate, but then the website wasn't ready, or the product wasn't in the language. And so I didn't know, but I was helping them with their business model. And I sort of got interested into, oh, wow, what are all the pieces of the puzzle that you need for any product to work in another country. And one of the heads of Silicon Graphics met with me on a Friday one day and said, there is a company that wants to talk to you, and they would like you to go and work for them. And I said, what company is this? And they said, it's called Cisco Systems. And I said, I have no clue what they do. And so they said, but you just go and talk to them. And 2 days later, I started working for Cisco. And that's where they said, we want you to figure out Spanish for Cisco. And I started traveling, to Argentina and Brazil, and I went a lot to Mexico City, and just to observe, how Cisco was behaving in these countries. We quickly realized that this had nothing to do with translations. This had to do with the people in Colombia or in Argentina. Do they know what these products do? Are they ready? Are they enough? Do they have the money to promote them? Do they have a good support technical team? And so that's where we started developing this notion of globalization for an enterprise, like all the little pieces that you need to put in place. You cannot throw it over the fence into another country. We've seen enough products trying to go global and fail. And so I began to study this, and I love it. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. This just blows me away. I mean, I can only imagine the amount of effort that takes.
It's many years, it was like I started, I was very young, and I didn't understand, what I understand today. I mean, today we kind of know what we need.
There's a lot of big companies not doing this very well. Is there a reason are they just not getting what needs to be done? It seems as though if you're going to be in a marketplace, that you should probably serve that marketplace properly, right? How come not a lot of big companies are addressing this very well? It sounds like NetApp is pretty well ahead of the game.
Well, we are now. It was a journey, right? And we're still. I think we've cracked the code here of what it takes. Some of these products are huge. They have millions of lines of code, so you need a lot of engineers. But your question is, why don't companies do this better? And by now, I know, the head of globalization at Google and Facebook and Twitter and eBay, and we meet all the time, right? And there's not that many of us. There's, a few dozen of us in the world, and we're sought after. And Microsoft has an amazing team, and Amazon has an amazing team. But then, when you go down the layer of maybe mid-sized enterprise or some of these enterprises, they either don't understand what it takes, or they don't know people like us. And they will leave it, let's say, at the marketing level, for example, where they'll say, oh, if you localize or translate the website, the products will work amazing, right? And it's not enough to do marketing about a product. People want to try the product, return the product, test the product, destroy the product, copy the product, return it. And so all these pieces, that's what a good globalization team is supposed to, to do that. And it's different if you're faced.
Maybe it's not that the middle level companies haven't gotten to the globalization. Maybe it's the globalization that has made you guys the companies that you are. Like, could it be that
I don't know. There's also an interesting thing, like if you're in an enterprise, you see, a vice president of this, vice president of that, C-level this, C-level that. Globalization is not at that level. And it's a pity, because we make companies a lot of money, because the product needs to feel and smell to stick, and inside of a country. So.
Yeah,
but
I have to
more
say,
and more executives. Mm-hmm.
I have to say, in 29 years in tech, having worked with hundreds of Fortune 500 tech companies, I've never seen anything to the level of NetApp. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Do we have any?
Tulio, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, is it time?
I think we need to remind the audience that if they have any questions for Ana, they can send them right here through our chat bot. But you are the one with the master key to activate it. So please.
Right, here we go. Ready? Here we go.
Okay, it's a high-tech, non-unhackable chatbot. Ready?
Boom.
Okay.
We upgraded it to a different color.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Color, So if you have any questions for Ana, just go to Twitter. You know how to use Twitter, right? So go here, This is the Twitter handle. Send us your questions for Ana. We'll read them back right here, live and on the spot, and she can respond in the same manner. Okay, so remember, Dojo Live, @Dojo Live on Twitter. So this is the way to send us your questions, folks. Okay, Tulio, I'm done. So I'm ready to remove it.
Great. I think Kim had some additional questions. Oh, I gotta press the button.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, you gotta press the button.
Get that out of there.
We have to automate this somehow.
Yeah. All right.
Very good, very good. So we'll wait to see if any of those questions roll in. In the meantime, so I was curious. You said, that some products now are on their way to this globalization, and some of them you have to start from scratch or ground zero. If you're starting this process with a product from ground zero, generally, how much time does that take?
Well, it depends on the product. So if your product is a website, it goes very fast. If your product has, a million lines of code, you need a ramp up. So there's not one answer. It depends on the product. If you want to globalize Facebook, you need to internationalize the code on the web page and make sure that they translate the strings on that page. That's an effort. If you want to globalize a product that's going to hold all the Facebook data, that's going to take you a few months. So it depends. It depends.
Right, understood. And we won't get into your secret sauce because I'm sure you've discovered the whole process and the step 1, step 2, and how to make your minimum viable product and all of those things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to globalization, so we've already touched on this a little bit about this idea of it's more than just a language. Okay, you said that originally you would start with translating and then you started to discover these bits and pieces. I personally have come across a book. Talking about books, I would like to get into your book actually. Your book is called Truly Global: The Theory and Practice of Bringing Your Company to International Markets. And I'm very interested now, after getting our talk today, to read this because I think it might go hand in hand with a book that I particularly like, that perhaps I'm assuming you're familiar with, is called The Culture Map, written by Erin Meyer. And that, okay, because I was wondering how this might kind of jive here together, because she talks about these theories about looking at how different cultures communicate. Like some are direct communicators, some are indirect communicators. Our perceptions of time, right? Are we flexible with our time? Or are we very stringent with it? Or how we give feedback. Are we very direct with it or indirect with it? These different 8 kind of elements. So are these types of elements that you look at when you're trying to make this product stick globally? Like, what are the cultural elements, or are there any?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, my team, we sit in 22 countries, and one of the first things that I did when I was given the go-ahead to set up this team was to place people around the world, specifically in Korea, Japan, China, where the cultures are so incredibly different than, the American culture. We have people in Amsterdam, Italy, Munich. We have somebody in Madrid. We have people in Latin America, etc. Yes, you do, and that's what they explain to us. That's why I have them there. So there's a lot that's the same, and there's a few things that are different. But again, there's a lot of people that like to talk about negotiating and being able to be successful around different cultures. It sounds like this other book is that. And to be able to work with countries, you need to understand that. The first time I went to Japan in my 20s, I showed up with a white suit. And, they told me go and buy something else very fast at H&M because they're not, change it to all black. So there's a lot of different cultural differences to be respected, right? So that you can show up as someone who's respectful, and if you travel to Mediterranean countries, and the negotiations might happen in a coffee shop or over a 2-hour lunch. If you're here in the States, it's like, what's your agenda, and go. That's not my book. My book is what's the type of team you need, what are the things you need to look at, what are the departments, where do you start first?
So it is your secret sauce.
That's the difference.
It's the how-to book. I like it.
Yeah, it's her secret sauce, the step 1, 2, 3 process.
Kim, I'm sorry to interrupt again, Kim, but we have a question actually from the audience. And the question came through Twitter from a gentleman by the name of Jose Antonio Leal. Jose Antonio is asking, okay, here's a question, Ana. Hold on one second, I lost it. I had open it. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Does Ms. Schlegel see that globalization becoming easier or harder? Also, does she have experience in B2C markets, easier or harder? So that's the exact question, Ana.
So the number one question I can't answer. So I'm an expert in enterprise globalization, and I think it's becoming easier because there's more books written about it, because there's more Anas and there's more people that are learning how it works. When I wrote my book, I got 100 phone calls from the Trump campaign, asking if globalization was a good thing or a bad thing. That I can't answer that. I think that any company that decides to go global, what I'm an expert in is to explain how to do that. And there's good practices and there's bad practices, like in every single profession. You want to do this ethically, and you want to understand the compliance in every single country, and you want to respect that. And the second question he had was B2C. Yes. B2C is even more needed because the end user is the customer. And for example, it's Zara, buying clothes online globally. You want to make sure that everything is ready, set up, and it can't be, in another language other than yours. So B2C is very, very important. You can't do it without localization. I think B2B is where it gets a little bit more difficult.
Thank you so much, Ana. Well, that's the question that came on Twitter. And okay, there's someone else that's elaborating on a question for Ana, but that's an internal. And actually, by a namesake of yours, we have our own Ana in our office in Chihuahua, but she's typing it. So let's wait a couple of seconds. So, Tulu, you want to go ahead and
we're coming on time. You could spend hours talking to you, which is great. Words of wisdom that you'd like to share, both for women on the fence about joining the tech movement, and also about globalization for companies that are thinking about doing a better job at it.
Okay, let's start with the women in tech. Okay, so to join high tech is actually pretty wonderful for many, many reasons. So number one is upward mobility in your own life. So there is a lot of money to be made. There's good benefits for women. Usually, especially if you're in the entry levels, there is a good possibility for upward promotions. If you have the good conversations with your managers and you're open to explain what you envision for your career, I think it's a very good place to be. Again, there's also here in the Silicon Valley a lot of movement, a lot of people that go, from NetApp to Facebook, and then they go to LinkedIn, and then they go to eBay. So there's always a lot of movement. Now, once you're inside this corporation, and it will depend. I mean, again, if you're on eBay, the number of women is higher. There's more women there than, let's say, at an engineering-only company. Once you're inside the company, it's really good to understand if there is a women's group inside or a women in technology group. That's kind of like the tribe, right? That's where you can connect with other people, and there's men and women, trying to support each other and learn how to present to executives and how to create your own brand. And there's a lot of learning inside these companies. There's maybe you get paired with a mentor or a sponsor inside the company. There's a movement right now, especially at the Silicon Valley, where there's a lot of people trying to help out in this topic.
Would you say, at least from my experience with Nearsoft as a woman, and as general, we extend these benefits to everyone. It's not limited to women, but the flexibility, like you can hear my crying daughter right now. Like the flexibility of working from home, working remote, possibly even, I think higher than average time off, extended maternity leaves, paternity leaves. That I think is also something, in addition to the excitement of, this education and what there is to learn, this flexibility and like your life matters to us, your happiness matters to us. Do you think that there's a field like tech that can emulate that, or is it?
Yes, absolutely. So people stay in companies for a variety of reasons, right? And you will stay in a company for different reasons when you're a new mom. Then, my kids are about to go to college. So it's different at different stages. And so as a woman or a guy, you're inside a corporation or a company, and you need to write down what are the 5 things why I want to stay here. And if flexibility is one of them, for example, NetApp, I have employees that I don't see them the whole week. I don't even know where they are, as long as they do their job, right? I do have a lot of moms in my team, and they will tell me, and they are at director level, they will say, on Wednesdays, it's very important that I coach the soccer girls, and you won't see me, but you'll see me later in the evening online. Okay, that's fine. We have a lot of people that come to the office 2 times a week, 3 times a week, so there's a lot of flexibility. I think this is part of negotiating, when you get a new job with your manager, and also the culture of the company. And again, if you're all working on a brand new product, probably people will be asked to be on site. And teams have also their own rhythm, that sometimes there's less pressure, more pressure. And so you need to stay very flexible. I was with the senior vice president at a conference last week, and all of a sudden she had to leave because one of her kids was sick, So it's all about priorities, and how you elegantly try to manage that is a very difficult balance. But, there's a lot of trust involved, and good communication with your manager. And if you deliver what your job is, you should be fine.
Perfect. Thank you. And you're right. I think that flexibility of the give and take goes both ways. And I think,
if you're always gone because your kids have a lot of problems, maybe you want to take an extended leave. I don't know. There's a lot of benefits.
Of course. Our mantra at Nearsoft is we're all adults, so we'll act like that, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So your final word of wisdom when it comes to globalization, if you would like to share us again any little snippet or things, I'll go over that book one more time, folks. It's Truly Global, The Theory and Practice of Bringing Your Company to International Markets by Anna Schlegel. And that's so your words of wisdom for your book, if you could give us that nutshell as we sign off today.
Find out, if you're supporting one product or a set of products, find out where are they going. That's the end. That product needs to land in somebody's hand or inside a country. So that would be the first question. If they're going just to Italy, okay, so how do you prepare for that? If it's going to 12 countries or 100 countries, then you prepare differently. So start with, where's this product landing?
Yep. Keep it simple, right? Kiss.
The 20 million details come after.
The greatest ideas are always simple, Yeah. I just, before we sign off, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate trailblazers like yourself. Not only do you benefit women, but also men benefit too. Because we enjoy spending time with our kids as well, and it's made it a lot easier to take it to get that, not just so that movement that women have really trailblazed and moved forward has also benefited us as well. So I'm appreciative of that, and thank you, and much gratitude and continued success.
Thank you. We need everybody needs everybody here. We need to be supportive of each other, right?
Yes.
Exactly. It's the globalization. It's not just about men and women. It's about, like you had touched on earlier, diversity as a whole. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Anna.
And thank you guys
for your flexibility, and everybody with myself and my situation today.
Yes, like the baby.
Cool. Just a quick announcement before we go. Next week, we're going to have on Dojo Live on Wednesday at 1 Pacific. We are going to be speaking with the founder and CEO of Ultra. Ultra is it's a software company that specializes in games, and basically about the blockchain revolution and the gaming industry. So it's going to be cool. And the founder and CEO of this is Nicolas Guillot from France. So be on the lookout for that. We don't have the topic yet, but it'll be there on the Dojo Live website soon. So just keep an eye for next week's Dojo Live interview, connecting experts like you. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much, Anna, for having been with us. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Tulio, as ever. You have a great afternoon, everyone.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.